Hey everyone, are you interested in freelancing to achieve location freedom? If so, you're in the right place. My name is Marissa Price. I'm a Black woman social worker, freelance coach, sharing my authentic journey of freelancing, of healing from a toxic job experience, and just sharing resources about how I got out of that using freelancing as the method. So I have a wonderful guest with me today, Quinn Edwards. I'll pass it over to her to introduce herself and tell us about her business.
Hi, my name is Quinn Edwards. I run Quinn Edwards Design, which is a new business for me. I recently started to offer web design, course creation, and graphic design. Previously, I worked as a virtual assistant, and I still do. And then before that, I worked as a middle school science teacher for 12 years.
That's so amazing. Yes. And you've had like so many different jobs. Every time you say it, I'm like, I learned a new job that you have. So if you could just like an overview of what you want to share of like the different things that you've done throughout your career.
Oh, yeah, I've had a million and one jobs. Lots of different jobs and the career paths too. So I went to school to be a marine scientist. So I did some research, marine science research, worked in a couple of labs, did some genetic research, worked on a boat out in Oregon. Then after that, I moved on to working in a chemistry lab, so testing chemicals and explosives basically. So I was just, setting fires and blowing things up every day. And
No big
then I
deal.
moved on to teaching fifth and sixth graders science and math. And now I freelance.
Wow. That's so amazing. Yeah, and it's just like all the jobs. I did this on my channel yesterday. I walked myself through my resume of all the things that I did that I had forgotten that I did. Because a lot of the times like we can forget the skill sets that we've developed in these various roles, volunteer opportunities, different like things that we've done throughout our lives. So to be able to like even tell yourself, I've done all these jobs, I have all these skills, and I can use them to now work for myself if that's my dream, right? I think that's really powerful. And so, yes, please subscribe. I forgot to say that. Please subscribe to my channel and comment below if anything resonates with you tonight. We do have an upcoming webinar, Work Anywhere, Live Everywhere, Freelancing 101 for Black women, that we'll be hosting this Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern. If you're interested, you can still register using the link scrolling on the screen or in the description section, and I will link it here as well. So please join us this Thursday. I do want to ask you what inspired you to start freelancing and how did it lead to location freedom in the different places you traveled to?
Oh yeah, the travels. What inspired
Travels.
me really was just breaking free of kind of the rigidity of teaching, essentially. I taught
Mm-hmm.
before, during, and after COVID. So, in that 12-year time span, a lot had changed. And I
Right.
just wanted to experience something different. I knew that I didn't want to be in the classroom for the next 20 years. It's just really a mentally exhausting job. And
Yeah.
I've taught in different states and different districts, different grades. So I've taught fifth, sixth, and eighth grade. I've moved districts just to teach in different places. I taught in Massachusetts and New Jersey. So I just wanted to have location freedom because as a teacher, you have to, live in a specific location, right? So
Right.
you can't,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I taught outside of Boston. I had an hour-long commute. That was not something I wanted to do for 20 plus years. Yeah, Boston traffic is no joke.
Oh my gosh.
So I knew that the amount of time I was spending in my car would add up. Like, I don't want to end up spending years commuting at the end of my career, right? So
Right.
I wanted to have location freedom. So I started to look at different ways I could do that. So remote jobs, just finding another W-2 job. I knew it would be difficult to have a remote teaching job, just because obviously most schools are in person. So
Mm-hmm.
I looked into freelancing, which led me to take a course to become a virtual assistant. So that's how I started. I started as a virtual assistant. I've been a virtual assistant for a year and a half now. And I just recently started to create websites and make courses for people.
I love that. And yes, speaking of that, Quinn designed my new website. If y'all haven't had a chance to check it out, we put it here in the chat, which is beautiful and represents everything that I've done. I realized as I was working with Quinn to do my website, right, all the offers that I have created, like the free stuff, again, when we are in this mode of just survival mode, which I was in when I left the toxic job that I was in, right, to become a freelancer, we don't even realize the things that we've done along the way. So having someone to really walk you through that process, if you're looking to have those offers in one place for your website, would highly recommend Quinn Services as a web designer. Yeah, so please check out my new website, again, designed by Quinn Edwards.
It's a really
Yes.
fun project. You have so many amazing offers.
Thank you. Thank you. I have a lot. I have a lot. Yes. Um, and I do see a comment here. Hello. Yes. Yeah, I was just watching that too. This is a perfect segue from Dr. Kamani, Dr. O'Shea, H&D's live. Yes. Welcome. Thank you for joining. Yes. And hi, Kiki. Yes. Good to see you as well. Yes. Thank y'all to everyone who was introducing yourselves in the chat. But yes, I wanted to, I guess I can ask that question or answer that too. What inspired me to start freelancing? So being in a toxic work environment, not really understanding like the pathway out of that. And I was applying to different roles within the organization. Nothing was working out, right, for various reasons. But yeah, I just wanted to get free of that place and I didn't know. And then I came across this VA training program. I was like, let me check this out. And that was kind of my route to start and launch my business, Free Black Women Virtual Solutions, which was my VA business that I'm winding down at the moment, pivoting to another area of freelancing, which is what freelancing provides you with, right? The freedom to be able to explore different areas, interests, creative interests, business interests that you may have had. So that's the path I'm on now. And how it led to achieving location freedom. Yeah, so it allowed me to be able to move outside of the US. And as a new international traveler, right, this is kind of still out there, right? Even sharing this with people in my immediate family, like people are still like, what? You're living outside the US? But it's been an opportunity for me to explore a different culture, heal from some of the deeper wounds that were created in the United States, which is the case for a lot of us as Black women, and learn a new language, right? So all of these things are possible for you too if you are interested in freelancing, which again is not the thing for everyone, because entrepreneurship has a lot of ups and downs, which both of us talk about, right? But if this is your dream to be able to pursue a different path, to express your creativity, to work with clients that are truly aligned with you, this option is presented to other people. And so the question is, why not us too? We have all the skills, we have all the experience, we have everything within us to make this dream come true. And with a supportive community, as we will be providing, and I do have a free community as well that I'll link in the chat, it's possible, right? Your dream is possible too. I wanted to ask you, was there a moment when you realized the freedom that freelancing could bring?
Yes. So recently, speaking of travels, I did a 6-week road trip this past fall, so October and November, and it was amazing because I was able to work from campgrounds up and down the East Coast. So I
Yes.
started in Vermont, worked my way down the East Coast, ended up in North Carolina, experienced all kinds of weather. And but I was able to work the whole time. So I just
Mhm.
looked at the Verizon coverage map, made sure the campground I was going to had some kind of Verizon signal, had a library picked out just in case the signal wasn't good enough. And I was able to work the whole time remotely. So I would be at a gorgeous campground with 2 bars of 4G working and taking Zoom calls.
And yeah, I saw you like place like put pictures in the community, right, of the different or not pictures, but you shared like of your experience of doing these things. And so that's awesome. Can you talk more about van life for Black women? Because this again is not presented as an option for us, and you're an expert. Quinn has sent me a list of resources for van life, which I'll be maybe checking out in the future. But yeah, just anything you want to share around van life in this other living arrangement.
Yeah, I mean, it's just another option, right? So if you
Mm-hmm.
are not ready to move overseas or if you want to explore where you are, I just like the idea of taking my work with me. So you don't really need a lot to get started. I mean, I don't have a, $200,000 fancy RV or anything. I have a regular, just run-of-the-mill Toyota SUV. Just took a couple of bolts out, removed the seats, and folded the other seat down, and I was good to go. So for anybody who's interested in getting into it, just go camping. Just find a local state park. Most states have a state park. You're probably within an hour's drive of a state park. Just go there for the weekend. Maybe even just get a small tent. Get an inexpensive tent from like Walmart, and get a couple of supplies and just try it out. So I have been a camper for a long time. I was a Girl Scout for years and years.
Yeah.
Then I kind of did van life in reverse. I started out Girl Scout camping, backpacking. So I backpacked up and down the East Coast. And then I started to go from backpacking to car camping to now just turning my SUV into kind of a mini RV. So I got a little fancy this trip. I got a mini fridge. I have a little solar generator and some solar panels just because I knew I would be working. So I wanted to be able to charge my laptop at the campsite and not have to drive into the libraries a lot. Uh, so you can really get started relatively inexpensive. Like, you don't need a fridge. I just like having a fridge because it's nice to have, some milk for your coffee in the morning. But you can really
Yeah.
just start out inexpensively, get your feet wet, go camping a few times, just kind of build up your gear from there. So I, over time, accumulated all kind of the camping gear that I currently use for road tripping. And the only thing really new that I bought was just the fridge and the generator and the solar panel. Everything else was just, stuff I had. So it doesn't have to be like a huge, crazy, expensive endeavor. You can just start off with what you have and just slowly build from there. Is that something you want to do?
I love that. Use what you have. Use what you have.
Yes.
I think that's amazing. And yeah, this option I had never thought of before. As I was in, again, these rigid, highly structured, right, not allowing you to take the time off that you need, corporate environments or traditional workplaces, this option was never presented to me, right? To just have a way to bring in the income that you need, which is what freelancing can provide you with, to be able to live the life that you want to. It's like the connection point between those two, right? And I think that's so important for us to be able to share more about these things. I do see a comment. Thanks for that. I want to turn my house into a short-term rental and do van life to save money. Do it,
Yeah, it can
please.
be expensive or as cheap
Mhm.
as you want. You can spend like hundreds of dollars a night going to an RV resort. You can spend 20 or $30 a night at a state park campground, or you can find free camping spots in national forests. So there's a wide range of prices. You can definitely save a lot of money, especially if you go for the free sites.
I love that. I love that. And can I just ask, like, where this idea of van life even came from? Was this something that you've been researching for a while? Like, how did this like even pop up into something that was possible?
Yeah, I've been researching it for a while. I mean, I'm really interested in the tiny house movement. I would love a tiny house.
Yeah.
But I also like the idea of just being able to visit different places. So I've spent my whole life in the Northeast and just going to different places, maybe finding somewhere to actually, put a tiny house and want to stay long term. But you can stay as long or as short as you want. So I stayed in Vermont for a week, then I was in New Hampshire for a week. Then I bounced around in the Carolinas. I spent, I think, two or 3 weeks in North Carolina. So you can be in a certain place if you want to spend, all winter in Arizona. A lot of folks do that too. Go out to the desert, just hang out for a couple months, wait for the snow to melt, and just go back north. So there's a lot of options, and obviously the U.S. is huge, so you can
It is.
drive to so many places and not see it all.
Mm-hmm. And I want to ask just about the logistics. You shared a little bit, but like the logistics of working from your laptop in a van, right? Going around the US. Like how does that work for people who maybe like, I want to do that, but I don't know how it would work. Anything you want to share around
So I don't have a lot of fancy tech for this. So I just have my cell phone. I have a Samsung. I have a hotspot. So I paid extra for 100 gigs of data for my phone. So I just use my phone as a hotspot. I know people kind of get fancy and get, really high tech gear like the Starlink and all of that. But I found that just using my phone as a hotspot was enough. So again, it doesn't have to be some crazy
that?
expensive thing. I have Verizon, so I just looked at the Verizon coverage map to make sure I have coverage where I was camping, and some campgrounds didn't have coverage on the map, so I just went somewhere else that did have coverage. So Hotspot is just the easiest way to start. And then if you have high computing needs, like if you're like a programmer or something like that, then you can look into more advanced kind of connections. But I just use the cell phone hotspot. You can also get a like a jetpack, which is just kind of like a separate device you can get on online with. There's lots of different
Hmm.
connection options. There's so many connection options.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, to be able to just like take your laptop, right? As a mobile person, a lot of us feel like very constrained, restricted in these environments. And so to be able to, right, like travel wherever you want to, domestically too, which is something that's often overlooked in some of the conversations, right? But domestic travel is travel too. If you just have a
Yeah.
dream to go on a road trip, right, do van life within the US, that's something that you can do and something that freelancing can help you with. Yeah, absolutely. Yes, I did want to ask challenges that you face when transitioning from a teaching job to freelancing and how you navigated those challenges. Oh, I think Quinn maybe, I'm not sure if it's my Wi Fi. Okay, okay,
Okay, there we go.
okay.
I don't know what happens.
Yeah, did you hear my question? I can repeat it or not. Oh, okay. But yes, I can share just about my journey freelancing. Yeah, thank you, Marissa. Thank you for that. Yes, I really like the reminder that domestic travel is a thing too. It is.
Yes,
And that's so
definitely.
important. Yeah, if you can't travel internationally for various reasons, right? Know that you can still travel domestically. That was my
Mhm.
first time realizing like the power of solo travel domestically, right? Going to Seattle, San Francisco, Atlanta, these places by myself that really proved to me that I had everything that it took, right, to embark on these international trips that I've been on now. Taking a trip to Querétaro, which freelancing provided me with that income to be able to do that. And again, the bus tickets within Mexico are really inexpensive, right? So that is an option. And it's not like a Greyhound bus at all. It's a really like luxury bus that you can use to travel within Mexico if that is of interest to you too. But I was working that time. So it's not like I took time off of work. I was still doing my virtual assistant duties while I was traveling to that place, to Querétaro, to San Miguel de Allende within Mexico. So freelancing can really provide you with that income stream to be able to travel to different destinations, whether internationally or domestically, if you just want to take a van life trip, as Quinn has shared with us. I do want to ask challenges, any challenges that you face when transitioning to freelancing from being a teacher and how you navigated those challenges.
Uh, it's a lot of it comes down to just networking and finding clients, really. So I started my freelance business while I was still teaching. So the last
Mhm.
school year, I was working my regular teaching job, and then I came home and I did my virtual assistant business. So I was working really long hours, so like 16-hour days. So working 2 to 4 hours after teaching, so that was a challenge, just getting things started, just time wise, because I was working my other job. Um, but I really like freelancing because you don't really need to spend a lot of money to get started, right? It's not a brick and mortar.
Mhm.
You're not renting
No.
space. As long as you have a laptop and Wi-Fi, that's it. And depending
Yeah.
on what you're offering, you can get more expensive tech along the way. But if you're doing virtual assistant work like we both started, you don't need a lot to get started. So just
No.
the real challenge was just getting started to begin with, kind of facing that fear of like, oh my goodness, like I'm going to go into the world of freelancing and leave this like quote unquote like good job behind. That was the big challenge, just the mindset, really.
That's so true. Yeah, and just like some freelancing myths that I just heard, like you can
Hmm.
still work your job while you transition into being a freelancer, right? So
Yep.
you don't have to just take a leap of faith and just like completely take this on 100%.
Hmm.
You can do it over time, right? Little by little, picking up clients until you're able to transition into being a full time freelancer if that's what you want, right? It never has to become a full time thing if you don't want it to be. And that's the power of choice, right? And having options and things that you want to do. Also, like the cost of getting started, right? It's just like you said, it's your laptop, it's Wi Fi, That's it.
It really is that simple.
That's it. A way to like take payments from people, which is
Mhm,
PayPal for a lot of us who work as freelancers.
mhm.
Um, QuickBooks is another tool, but PayPal is free,
Yeah,
right? PayPal is free. If you have a laptop already, you can use that to get started. What do you already have, right, that you can use? I think that's important because sometimes we feel like we have to get these fancy things. We have to file for an LLC, right, which is something that often stops a lot of us. But while you're getting started, you don't need these things to get started, right? That's
exactly.
something that comes down the road as your business grows for protection, for legal protection, stuff like that. But to get started, the initial stages before you even have clients, right, before your business is even taking in revenue, you don't need these things to get started. And that's what we're trying to emphasize. Like it's literally what you already have at your fingertips, things that you already do for people, right? Tasks that you already complete. Just using that as a way into becoming a freelancer. Yes. I do want to ask the most rewarding part of freelancing. What has that been for you?
Oh, geez. It's just helping people that have like socially conscious businesses. So I work with a lot of uh, women who are coaches who are helping by other BIPOC women. So I just find that really rewarding, like helping somebody create like a website like yours, for example, and just helping people who are uh, kind of having like a social impact. Like I really enjoy being a
Mm-hmm.
part of that. There's an element to that in teaching as well. Obviously, helping shape the next generation and teaching children, but it's different, right? Because I can directly see the impact. So if
Mm-hmm.
I'm making somebody a website or creating a course for them, I can directly see the impact, and then that impact that they're having on their clients. It's really powerful to be able to say like, oh my goodness, I like helped create that course that this person is selling to help other people achieve their dreams. Like it's just really like an amazing
Mm-hmm.
kind of feeling to just have a little piece of that, to be a part of it.
That's true. Yeah. And I'll say the same for me, being able to see like my creations exist in real time. That's so
Yes.
exciting, right? To be able to see like sales pages, like social posts go around, and be like, oh, I created that, right? And people are actually like having a reaction to it. Yeah, that's been really awesome. And having clients that feel aligned, like mission aligned. A lot of us
Mhm.
are coming from workplaces where that's not the case. We have to mask,
Yeah.
right? We have to fake all day, which can really drain our energy. So to be
Mhm.
able to literally attract the dream people that you want to work with just by being your authentic self, by speaking, right? By targeting your messaging to the issues, the pain points that these people are experiencing, to be able to offer them your services and being that point of connection. That's the power of freelancing. Yes. Yeah, freelancing. How has it allowed you to design a life that aligns with your values and your passions?
Being able to pick who you work with is so powerful.
It is.
Like,
It is.
not having to be stuck with an employee that, like, might be bullying you or something along those lines. Like, I've experienced that in other
Hmm.
workplaces. So, being able to choose clients that align with your values and not being stuck with somebody, right? So, as a freelancer, you sign the contract, you're working with them, you are not necessarily working for them. So, depending on your role, you are helping them with some aspect of their business. You're not a W-2 employee. They're not paying your health insurance or anything like that. So there is a lot to be said with choosing people that align with your values because that gets you out of bed in the morning, right? So you're not going to want to get out of bed and do work with somebody who doesn't treat you well or who is bullying
Hmm.
you, right? So a lot of us are coming
Hmm.
from toxic work environments where you're just like, I don't want to get out of bed. I don't want to go to work and deal with so and so. But as a freelancer, you have that choice, right? So if you have a client who no longer aligns with your values, then you can just part ways nicely and that's it. You don't have to be stuck working with somebody for 20 years at a business. So that's the best part because you can pick and choose and and you're not stuck working with somebody who might be kind of hurting your mental
Hmm.
health.
That's true. Ooh, that part about 20 years,
Yeah.
right? And just the way that the labor force has
Yep.
changed, right? For a lot of us. I know like the messaging, right, for older generations is to stay in a job for
Yes.
a long period of time to get all
Hmm.
these benefits.
Yeah.
And we have discovered that these benefits no longer exist, right? And on
Hmm.
top of that, we're being harmed, we're being traumatized in the workplace.
Yeah. Hmm.
And so we need these different avenues to be able to still bring in income within a capitalist system, because that's very real,
Hmm.
but not have to be subjected to this level of harm that so many of us are being subjected to day in and day out. Yeah, that's true. That is true. And yeah, I agree. Being able to work with clients that you choose, right? That's
Hmm.
huge. That's huge.
Yeah.
Um, I
And your
started off my
messaging.
business.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, yeah,
Let's
please.
say your messaging attracts the people that align with you, right? So if you are
Yes.
somebody is putting out a message about like heart-centered entrepreneurs who are coaches and working in the XYZ space, you're going to attract those people. So if you are working
Yes.
with, a specific group of people, you're going to attract them, and you don't necessarily have to vocalize and quote unquote repel another group, but the people that you attract are the people that align with you because of your messaging.
That's so important. That's so important. Yeah. To be able to like literally get into like, what does this client, this dream client, what are their needs? What language will
Mhm.
really resonate with them? And to be
Yeah.
able to create things like social media posts, even talking in person at events, to be able to talk their
Mhm.
language so that they know that this is a person I want to work with. And it creates that dream client relationship. Yes, that's very true. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah. Do either of you recommend tool sites that help you decide what areas you pursued for your freelancing business? Oh, this is a good question.
Ooh, that is a good
Um,
question.
hmm, Tools or sites that help you decide. I think for me, it was just being in the communities that I was already in and taking
Mhm.
inventory of those. So again, like working with what you have. So I was already in communities with Black women creators, digital entrepreneurs, and seeing the needs that they had around assistance, right? So creating things like, again, sales pages, sales funnels, social posts to advertise things, YouTube thumbnails, description sections, all of these things that I knew that I had a skill in, that I could meet that need, and then basically targeting your messaging to be able to say, I do this, right? You need help with this. I do this, and this is where I can help you. And giving that call to action. That's basically how I started connecting with clients. And that was the area I decided to work in, Black women digital entrepreneurs. But yeah, anything you want to share, Quinn?
Yeah. I think I started in the admin side just because I have like a deep obsession with organization.
Yes.
So
Yes.
so I started on the admin side, just helping people establish their business. So I work with a couple of different coaches who were either just starting out or kind of developing their business. So I got in with a couple of different, like really amazing women who were in the growing stages.
Yeah.
So I saw a need for kind of back end organization, like setting up systems, making sure your email management system is in place, making sure you have content for social media posts, creating content, uh, repurposing content. So I started doing that because I saw that as a need, like just back end systems and organization. And then I branched out further into web design, right? So just
Hmm.
having a link tree or an Instagram account, you need a website. You need a website. You need a website.
Need a
Like,
website.
even if it's just a one pager, just because it's something that you own, right?
Yeah.
So you don't own Instagram. You own the account that's associated with your email address. But if Instagram goes down or Facebook goes down, and it has gone down a few times this year, hasn't it? So
Hmm.
then you lose the connection with your client base, right? You don't own those accounts. So I always say, even if it's just a one pager with an about me section and a contact form, you should have your own online presence. And I saw a
Absolutely.
need for that. A lot of people that I had seen just had an Instagram account. And it's like, if Instagram goes down, then what are you going to do?
That's so important. That's so important. Yeah, to be able to have that client list, right? To be able to
Yes.
refer people to a permanent site that you own, that you have ownership over, versus
Yep.
relying on social media again, even with the algorithms, right? Not
Yeah.
everyone will see the content that you post, right? Not everyone will see
Mhm.
like your introduction post of yourself. So to be able to refer people to your website, To have a place with your bio, with the links to all your stuff, that's so important in starting a business. Yes. Yes. Absolutely. I want to ask, what location freedom? What does that term even mean to you? Because we see it floating around, but just what it means to you personally, location freedom.
Oof. Not having to battle a commute.
Oh my gosh.
I think
Yes.
that I think that's not talked about enough. Just having that time back and then being able to live kind of wherever you
Mm-hmm.
want and wherever you feel comfortable too, right? So like if you are got hired at a job, you might not want to live in the surrounding city or suburbs, right? But it's a quote unquote good paying job,
Mm-hmm.
so you kind of live in a place that might not be a place you want to be, right? So if you got a job, in Atlanta and you don't want to fight Metro Atlanta traffic, that's not going to be good for your mental health, kind of dealing with that. So I think location freedom is just having the ability to actually choose where you want to live. Because if you have a job and it's at a specific location, you don't technically have a choice in that, right? So that job
Mm-hmm.
is at a specific address, and you need to
Right.
live within some kind of driving distance, whether it's 20 minutes, half an hour plus, depending on how far you want to drive. But that's not location freedom, right? You still are tied
True.
to a location. So yeah, maybe you have an hour radius around Boston, for example, but that's not location freedom because you're still tied to that location. So it's not technically freedom. So being a freelancer is true location freedom. Like I was in the woods in Vermont working.
Yeah.
And so like that's location freedom. Like I was in a really beautiful like coastal North Carolina campground taking Zoom calls with palm trees behind me. Like that's location freedom, right? Because I can
Mm.
choose where to go. You don't choose necessarily unless you want to live in New York City and you chose that job for that reason. But if you're not
Right.
excited about living in that location, then it's not true location freedom.
Mm. And to recognize that we have the power of choice. I think that's
Yes.
so important because so many of us think that we have to live our lives by like how someone else told us,
Hmm.
right? This blueprint that's laid out for us. And the more of us are realizing, like, no, this doesn't work for me, right? I'm not happy in this place. So to be able to have this income source, again, to be able to pick up if you're not happy and move somewhere else, that's huge. That's huge. Yeah, absolutely. Any advice you would give to someone who feels stuck in a job that's not serving them and wants to explore freelancing, but may be fearful of starting?
I would say just take an inventory of your skills because you already have the skills to
Mhm.
be a freelancer, right? You don't need to go back to college to get a specific degree. There's no like freelancing diploma. You already have the skill set. It's just deciding what part of your skill set you want to use, right? So if
Mhm.
you are answering emails all day long, but you don't want to use that skill set, then you don't have to manage somebody's inbox. Like that doesn't have to be something you have to do, right?
That's
So just
huge.
because you have that skill set doesn't mean you have to continue doing that if you don't want to do it.
Mhm.
So I think the first piece of advice I would say, take a step back. What do you already do and what do you like to do? Right? You don't have to do something. If you just because you're good at something doesn't mean you have to keep doing it, right? Like if you're good at scheduling meetings with 50 people but you don't like to do it, then don't do it. Like that's
Yes.
the freedom
I
in
feel called out.
freelancing.
That's true.
Right? Like
Yeah.
if you have something you're super passionate about, but you're not actually doing it in your job, right? So if you love making graphics, if you're an artist, but then your job is, customer service somewhere, then you can actually pursue something that you enjoy doing. So there's a lot of options out there, but I would say take a step back. What do you do already? What do you like to do? And then go from there because chances are whatever you're currently doing or you have done in the past at a different job has given you the skills to become a freelancer.
Mhm. 100%. Yeah. And you touched on something I see floating around, like to be a freelancer requires you to be in admin, right? To only be a
Yeah.
virtual assistant. And I just want to like speak to that because that's what I thought too, right? When I first
Mhm.
entered. But they're like freelancing, any skill that you can think of that you can monetize and you can do it from your laptop, that's freelancing, right? So it's
Right.
that wide of a scope. So no, you don't just have to be an administrative role if
Mhm.
that's not what you like to do. you can tap into your creativity. You can be a graphic designer, you can be a coach, right? Business coach, mental health coach. Yeah, so these things are open to us, and especially I do want to speak to like social workers. A lot of us have licenses. I am not licensed as a social worker, but if you are a clinical social worker, right, your clients just have to be in the state that you're licensed in. You don't have to be there, because I have seen social workers literally become freelancers in that sense, right? Because you're taking on clients, but you're not in a traditional job doing
Mhm.
that. So that's freelancing. Any way that you can take your skills, use them to generate income outside of a traditional work environment, just using your laptop, that's freelancing. So just want to say that too. Yeah, that's so important. That's so important. And you mentioned like the skills, right? All the skills that we have in all of these jobs, like what does the skills inventory look like for someone who may not know? What might that process look like?
So I love talking about skills inventory. It's like one of my favorite things
Oh,
because it's
yeah.
one of those aha moments because you're just like, oh, wow, I know how to do all of these things. But like, you don't think about what you're doing every day at work. You're not just like, I am emailing right now. This is the skill I have, right? So, skills inventory basically, you're making a list, like you're actually writing down a list. What do you do every day? Right. So I did this when I first started to think about what I wanted to do as a freelancer. So I was a teacher. So what do I do every day? So I answer emails. That's the actual task, but then the skill associated with that task would be communication skills, right? So if I am grading 130 papers, that's the task, but the skill is time management or having a system in place to actually grade the papers quickly. So I would say if you're not sure where to start, make a list of everything you do at work. What are you doing every day? And then
Mm,
next to that, make another column and associate the task with that. Right. So if you're in a customer service role, right, talking to customers face to face, or maybe you're on the phone, communication skills, that's huge. Communication skills, right?
mhm.
So everything you do at work and even stuff you do at home too, you don't have to necessarily do kind of officey things as a freelancer. You can be a freelancer who does online cooking classes, right? That's a
It's
freelance
true.
position. You can
Mhm.
do online cooking classes. You can give people an ingredients list. They can cook with you online, right? So it cannot doesn't have to be necessarily something you're doing behind a desk. It can be just any kind of skill that you have.
That's true. That's true. Yeah. And the level of creativity, right,
Yeah.
that we often have and that's stifled in a lot of these roles that we're in.
Hmm.
Freelancing can provide you with the ability to explore that area of
Yep.
creativity if you're interested in monetizing that. Yes. Not saying that everything has to be monetized, that you do.
Yeah.
Never want to say that. But if you're interested in using that as a way to generate
Hmm.
income, that can be a way for you to do that. Yes. Just read a comment here. Yes, all the time getting ready for work, getting to work. Yes, and getting home all takes
Hmm.
away from your personal time to pursue interests and self care. Yes.
Yes. Yeah,
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing
exactly.
that. Yeah, the amount of time we spend like driving. Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
driving to work, rush hour
Yep.
traffic, right? Driving home.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Yeah. Waking up
Yes.
early to beat the rush hour traffic. So
Hmm.
waking up an extra hour early so I wouldn't have to sit in 2 hours of Boston traffic. So even that time too, right? So if I'm getting to work an hour early just to beat the traffic, that's still time that you're spending outside of the home, right? So
Right.
essentially it's a 2 hour commute because you're just sitting there at work. So I don't, I mean, I was reading an article today about commutes and something about like if you have a hour-long commute or something like that, you spend like 10 days a year in your car. That's an insane amount of time to be just
Oh my
sitting in
gosh.
traffic.
Uh huh.
Yeah, you that's a vacation. 10 days is a vacation,
It
but you spent it in
is.
your car commuting.
Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh.
When you
That's
add up the
true. That's
time,
true.
it really is mind-boggling the amount of time when you add it up over a
Mm-hmm.
year.
And that just reminds me of like the limited vacation time that we have in a lot of these
Yes.
roles too.
Yes.
Again, being a freelancer, I've been able to travel to different locations. I'm still working,
Mhm.
right? So I'm not on
Yeah.
vacation in that sense, but I'm traveling while I'm working. So I'm
Mhm.
not having to ask someone, can I take vacation time? Do you approve of this?
Mhm.
I can like take that for myself, and that provides a level of agency um, in freelancing that I've discovered. Yes.
Yeah. And it really is like a time management thing too. So if you have client calls at a certain time, maybe you're doing work around that time, but I was traveling, I was camping. So maybe
Yeah.
you go like for a walk in the morning, do your calls and your client work in the afternoon. So you don't have to stick to a 9 to 5 either. So you can make your travel days or wherever you're going your own schedule.
Mm.
So that's the
Mm-hmm.
best part about it. So like I could be traveling, camping, going to different places. So I went to the Outer Banks. I was in North Carolina. I went to the Outer Banks.
Hmm.
Beautiful day in the Outer Banks. I was on the beach. I went to like the Wright brother memorials, but I was still working,
Yeah.
right? So I woke up in the morning, did about 2 hours of work, had my fun day at the beach, and then I came home, ate dinner, and then I did a little bit more work. But I still had like a beautiful like vacation day essentially. So as a
Yeah.
freelancer, you can build your schedule however you want.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah, and I know that when I first started, like I felt like I had to stick to the schedule that I knew because that's all
Yeah.
I knew, right? So nine to
Hmm.
five was like feeling very stifling that I was doing this to
Yes.
myself. And so just over time, sometimes that's a process of realizing that, oh, I'm
Hmm.
in control now. I can set my
Yeah.
hours, I can set my schedule, I can work when I feel most productive, even though I don't like that term, but like
Hmm.
when I feel most alive and
Hmm.
alert versus like sticking to a schedule that someone else tells me I have to adhere to, right? Because not all of
Yeah.
us function best from 9 to 5,
Hmm.
right? That's kind of, it's fake, it's made up. So
Yeah.
to be able to like adopt your own schedule where your body feels like most awake and alert
Hmm.
and to be able to work at those hours, I feel like that's something that we need as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm. I do see a question from Marissa. Do you ladies have any ideas about how to test out freelancing if you aren't certain it's something that's for you? That's a great idea. I think
Yeah.
you can just get started with what you have, right?
Mhm,
So I know that when I first started, just offering a few virtual assistant services to see if I liked it, because you don't always know what you like to do, especially if you're in a
mhm,
role where people have told you what you have to do your whole life. It
mhm.
may take a second to even understand, oh, I like to do this, I don't like to do that. So just trying out one skill, maybe advertising that to your ideal client base, seeing if that fits. If not, going a different route, right? Seeing what you like to do and what attracts, like in the marketplace, what people are attracted to as well. I think that can be a good way to get started. Anything you want to share around testing
Y
freelancing now?
Yeah, I would say something similar, like, what do you do now? Maybe offer that to clients, and if you like to do it, great. That if not, try something else. That's the best part of freelancing. You can pivot whenever you want, right? So we both
Mm-hmm.
started out as virtual assistants. Now we're pivoting to other things. You
Yeah.
can always change your mind. That's the best part about freelancing, because if you have a regular 9 to 5 job, like that's your role, and you're given whatever task your role is associated with, and there's not really a lot of wiggle room in that depending on what you're doing, but there's usually not a lot of wiggle room.
Mm-hmm.
So as a teacher, I had to, give instruction every day, and there wasn't a lot of wiggle room to maybe try something else out. But with freelancing, you can try a lot of different things. Maybe you have one client that you just do email marketing for, and you're just writing emails for them. And then you could have another client where maybe you're managing their inbox and, scheduling their meetings. You can have different clients doing different things, and that's a good way to test it out too. So one of my first clients, I was a Zoom moderator. She was hosting webinars, and she knew that I was a teacher during the pandemic. So she's like, "Yes, you know how to use Zoom, so so you can help answer questions in the chat and all the tech stuff." And I really like doing that. Actually, I like being a Zoom a Zoom
I
moderator.
know it's
It's just
fun. I
interesting.
like it
It's
too.
just interesting to hear conversations, like just like the workshop is really cool. But you
Yeah.
can have different clients that you do different tasks for, and that's a good way to test it out too. Right. So that's
Mm-hmm.
essentially how I started out with social media management. I don't do that for every client. I have one client or two clients now that I do it for, and just testing out different things. Right. So you can have different clients, test out different things, and if you like it, great. If not, then you could just get another client and try something else. They don't all have to be the same job for each client.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's so true. Yeah. And embracing that feeling of flexibility, right? Again, a
Hmm.
lot of these environments that we're coming from are very rigid. Like once you try something, or like even degree programs, right? Once you go through this, you're kind of stuck in it. And so
Yeah.
it's like kind of unlearning that and embracing the different pathways that exist and giving
Hmm.
yourself permission to try them out and see what
Hmm.
works for you. I think that's
Yeah.
important. Yeah. Yeah. Let's see. Hello. Yes, Ayana Ibina. Welcome. Yes. Any suggestions for a hairstylist with a degree in English? How could I freelance? Oh, wow. So thinking about something that you could do on your laptop, I would start with the skills inventory, right? So things that you do already that you could help people. I'm thinking about consulting, right, with different hairstylists, depending on what you do. Even offering online classes. I've seen that people teaching online classes of how to cut hair virtually. I saw that a lot during the pandemic, actually. Teaching courses could be a way to do that if you're interested in doing more of the back end work of helping hairstylists do systems, like set up systems in the back end, right? For I'm thinking of like different inventory management programs like that. Um, yeah, the list is endless. I would start with the skills inventory just to see what you do on a day to day basis and what you like to do. Is this a path that you want to continue to pursue, or do you want to try something else that speaks to a different side of your creativity or something like that? Yeah. So, Quinn, anything you want to
Yeah, I would
add?
say if you have a degree in English, you can think about copywriting too. I mean, that's
Oh, yeah,
an
that's a
open
good idea.
field, right? You can do copywriting, you can do email writing, you can do blog post writing. There's a whole bunch of different things you can do with copywriting. So if you like to write, then I would say that's another option as well.
Thank you. Yes. 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 Wow. I did someone similar at the, oh, yeah, same Carolina Beach. It was the best days ever.
Oh yeah, it was so nice.
I like the Outer Banks. Yes. Yes. Oh, welcome, Yoga Bliss Dance. Good to see you here. Thank you for joining. Yes, I teach stress management for professional women with toxic stress. Oh, wow. We
Hmm.
need
That's
this. We
great.
need this.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome, Marissa. Yes. Tanya says, I joined VA training but feel overwhelmed where to start. I like website work, so I was thinking WordPress, so many different areas to choose. Tech teacher with a few skill sets. Yeah. Teaching people, right? If you like teaching about tech, that's a huge need, especially where we see like technology just increasing in so many different areas. Can you teach people how to use tech, right? How to design their websites? Is that something that you're interested in? Um, but yeah, I'm thinking about course design, maybe an avenue. Anything you want to share, Quinn? Any ideas around being a VA? Because that can feel overwhelming. I do want to say that
Hmm.
when you first start, because there are so many areas, and again, freelancing is just it just runs the gamut of your skill set in different
Hmm.
ways that you can monetize the things that you already do. So I think being aware of where you've seen people express a need, right? I really need help in this area. The communities that you're already in, have people said stuff to you where you know that your skill set could fill that gap as a freelancer. But yeah, anything you want to share? Oh, I think you may be mute. You may be muted. Oh, or is that on my end? Sorry. You're very welcome. I don't think we can hear you. If y'all can hear, it might be on my end.
Oh,
Okay, now we can hear you. Sorry. Yes.
good. So I would say with tech, you can focus and hone down on a specific area of tech, right? So if you want to really hone down on WordPress, then you can make courses and teach people how to do WordPress. A couple of different tech platforms actually offer certifications. I'm not sure if WordPress is one of them, but you can become like a certified expert in like Dubsado, for example, which is a client management software. So if you're really into tech, you can look into certifications for different
Mm-hmm.
platforms, and then you can mark yourself as an expert in those platforms. I know ClickUp is another one, which is another client management software. And the courses are usually free or really low cost. A lot of it you just go through the actual software. You go through their website to get the certification. You can be a Canva certified person as well too. So there's a lot of different tech platforms that offer certifications as well, and then you can use that to teach other people. So there's a lot you can do as a tech person.
That's huge. Yeah. And I know that you are a tech strategist, right? In helping
Yes.
people kind of navigate the world of online business. So that could be an area too. if you've noticed like people experiencing tech issues with a certain platform, in knowing that you have an expertise in that platform, maybe you use it in your current job. Could you now take that and become a freelancer? Right? Being a consultant, offering appointments in that sense, offering coaching packages to walk them through how to use this particular software with the background that you already have. So that may be helpful as well. Yes. What is the best way to market clients? Oh, wow. That's a good question. I found for me, it has been through referrals. That has been the
Mhm.
biggest way that my client list has grown. Getting started, I was on social media already in communities that I was in. So that's important. The spaces that you're already in, the networks of people that you're already around, sometimes we can overlook those connections. Has someone already expressed, I need help in this area, right? I really wish someone would come along and offer this service that would make my life so much easier. And you know that your skill set can fill that gap. That's often the first ways that we find clients. And from there, clients will refer you naturally to other people who need help in that same area. Um, so, yeah, that can be an effective way. Again, targeting your messaging to your ideal clients is so important. Recognizing what pain points that they have that you know that your skill set can help alleviate, so that when they hear that message, whichever platform you use to get it to them, whether it's social media, in person, networking, they know that you're talking to them and you have the skill set to address that pain point that they have. So, yes.
Yeah.
Hope that was helpful. Yes. Hey, Vera. Good to see you. Good to see you. Oh, thank you for this. Thank you. Love what you're doing here. Thank you. Yes. Yeah. Tutoring online, yeah, a bit competitive, English
Mhm.
background, editing. Oh my gosh, yes.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
Editing. If you like to edit videos, if you like
Mhm.
to edit a whole bunch of stuff, right? If you're an English major, yeah, editing websites, editing, you mentioned copywriting. If that's your
Mhm.
area of interest, especially on social media, if you like editing social media reels, which I absolutely hate, that could be an area to start freelancing,
Yeah.
right? So as many things as you can think of that you really like to do, you may even do them as a hobby now. That could be your entry point into being a freelancer, which again is just income in exchange for a skill that you
Mhm.
demonstrate for someone else. Yeah.
Yeah. Proofreading too is another one. You can make you can just be a proofreader. That's another way
Yeah. That's a good point.
of proofreading books or anything.
That's a good point. Yes. Proofreading. Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. Let's see. What's a skill or resource that has helped you succeed as a freelancer?
Ooh, skill or resource. Mm, I think the resource would just be networking, really. Just being in
Hmm.
different online communities, that's huge. So being in communities of people who are also freelancers has been very beneficial, just because they can help answer questions. Maybe they might be a little bit at a different point in their freelancing journey. So they might already have pivoted, for example. So I've spoken to a lot of people recently about pivoting my business, and they had already done it. So being in a network with other freelancers, I think, is a really good resource. And also just networking with other people who are in the same boat as you, right? Because maybe not everybody in your world currently understands freelancing, right? It's
Hmm.
still is kind of a new thing, right? This didn't really
Yeah.
exist like 40 years ago in the way that we're doing it now. So surrounding yourself with people who are also trying to pursue this or who are currently pursuing this, because you might get a lot of naysayers, a lot of negative feedback. Don't leave that good job. How many times have you heard that? So I think a great resource is just to be with other freelancers who are on this journey. That's kind of the most
Hmm.
important thing
Hmm.
that helps me the most. So I didn't necessarily need to purchase specific software or anything like that. Just being around like-minded people has been such a huge benefit.
Yes. And your audio is coming in a little bit choppy, but we did hear what you said. Thank you so much for sharing that. Yes. Um, yeah. And I totally forgot the question. Sorry, y'all. Um, yeah, skill or resource that helped you succeed. I would say probably being in community with other Black women freelancers, which I just linked here in the chat, my free community. But yeah, freelancing has a lot of ups and downs, as Quinn shared. Like it's a new thing, it's a relatively new way of bringing in income, right? Outside of having a traditional job, a role, a title, all these things that we're accustomed to. So to be able to be around other people who are experiencing what I'm experiencing, the fear of being seen has been a huge thing that I've had to work through. Again, transitioning from a very toxic work environment to being a freelancer where you literally have to put yourself out there. You have to tell people what you do in order to attract clients. And working through those really deep wounds often, being in community with other people who are like, I'm experiencing that too. It makes you realize that you're not alone in this journey. So that's been like the biggest resource that has helped me succeed is community, I think. Yeah.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. And your audio is perfect though. Yes.
Okay, good. I just
Yes.
switched my microphone.
Yes. Mo is Queendom says, so my goal is to ease into freelancing. Yeah, right now my job takes a lot out of me in my day. So my plan is to transition into a less stressful and more chill position that will allow me to invest more into my freelancing. I love that. Yeah, and it doesn't have to be like a quick, urgent, rushed process at all. Like never want to put that out there. It can be whatever pace that you want it to be, right? Just like anything else. You can enter into this slowly, right? And try out different things, see what works for you, see what skill areas that bring you joy that you do. You can enter into something thinking that this is what I'm going to do, be set in that, and then find out that you don't like doing that as a freelancer. And so that takes time to really understand the different areas, the different skill sets that you have. So yes, easing into it is a perfect way to look at it. Yes.
Yeah, that's what I did. I freelanced my whole last year teaching, so 10 months, and then I left my teaching job. So it wasn't immediate. I was building up my client base, building up my skill set for almost a full year, or a little over a year, because I started in the last school year. So it doesn't have to be immediate. You don't need to freelance and then leave your job in a month.
No.
You can try different things. So you can start out as one thing and then pivot to something else and still have your full-time job if you want to ease into freelancing. So there's a lot of trial and error you can do. So there's a lot of options.
Absolutely. Yes. Amira says, I'm starting off with admin skills, but I would like down the line, ooh, more AI.
Ooh,
Yes.
AI,
And
yes.
CRM skills for small businesses. Huge area. Huge. Yes. And to be able to offer that, right, to small business owners, like you said, setting up their CRM. And CRM is customer relationship management system. So this is where all of your clients, basically a database for your clients, for people who serve clients, to be able to organize that, to know what it is, the different platforms that exist, to know how to use AI to make your clients' lives easier, right? In whatever way that looks like. That's a huge, huge area. So yes. Thank you for sharing that.
I would say CRMs, that is an area where you can offer that as a VIP day service, right? So you can set up a client's whole back end business, work with them for a day, maybe even two, and charge a high ticket for that, because that's essentially how they're going to run their business for however many years they're going to run their business. So that's super important. So if you have CRM skills, massive, massive skill set to have. And also AI, if you can learn how to program those GPTs, there's a lot of money in that.
Oh, yeah. Saw you mention that today.
Yeah, we were talking about GPTs before. It's a growing field, right? Like every time you log into a website, think about the little chat box that pops up in the bottom right-hand corner. Somebody had to program that, right? So it's not an impossible thing, right? You don't need to learn how to code or do anything special for that. Just training the chat GPT to answer specific questions about that business, that's a huge field. So yes, you have a good skill set there, Mara.
Yes, absolutely. Yep. And even the person who mentioned like being a hairstylist, if setting up customer relationship management systems for hairstylists so that they have all their clients in one place, and their
Mm-hmm.
booking system is set up. If that's of interest to you, that could be an area to pursue as a freelancer too, since
Yeah.
you already have like the experience as a hairstylist, and then maybe the interest of doing the more behind the scenes systems processes set up. Yeah.
That's one thing that's not talked about a lot as freelancers, right? You don't have to necessarily only work with other virtual businesses. You can be a
Hmm.
freelancer and work with brick and mortars,
That's
right?
true.
So that's an option you
That's
can
a good
have. So if
point.
you are doing something like hairstylists, setting up their CRM, they have a brick and mortar, but you have location freedom, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh, Quinn. Yeah, that's true. That is true. Yeah. So the businesses clients you work with, they don't have to be like out in the world like virtual business. They can
Yeah.
be brick and mortar, as Quinn said. Yes. Hmm. Let's see. Yes. Kiki says, "What's the average hourly wage for virtual assisting, and how many hours of help per week does a single client usually need?"
This
I think this
varies so much.
depends. Yeah, it depends. It depends on what area of the country you're in, what your needs are to be able to set your rates, what you're doing, right? Based on like the market rate of what the skills typically go for. So that varies. All of this varies. And how many hours per week does a single client usually need? That varies.
Yeah.
So if you're working with small businesses who may need less hours of virtual assistance versus working with, again, brick and mortar larger businesses who may have many different freelancers that they work with in different areas. So yeah, all of this varies. Thank you for this question.
Mhm.
Mara says, "I've been learning Zoho. I have experience with Salesforce."
Oh,
Salesforce,
wow.
yes, though, but
Salesforce.
Zoho is easy to learn and teach. I feel Mara, Salesforce,
Yes.
yes. Having worked in
Oof.
Salesforce at the job I was in, that's a complicated system, right? And very niche. Not a lot of people know how to operate Salesforce. So even again, as Quinn mentioned, right, creating even like a VIP day to be able to be like, I'm going to set up Salesforce for you, your customer relationship management system, and walk you through the process so that you know how it works, and then providing with them with that service, the finished package, the finished CRM set up for them. That's huge.
Or
Mm-hmm.
consulting. If you want
Mm-hmm.
to consult with
True.
Salesforce, that can just be a whole thing unto itself too. So these
Mm-hmm.
different platforms, you can be a consultant in them if you know how to use it. You can just go to different companies, do like a webinar about it. That's another option as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Oh no, you're good. You're good. We got what you meant. Thank you. Yes. Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. Yes. Yes, I want to learn that. Yeah, Mara. Yes. CRM, please. A great perspective. Never thought about brick and mortar B2B. Yes. B2B. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. You're very welcome. Yes. I do want to ask, let me get back to my questions. Why we're so passionate about helping other Black women discover location freedom through freelancing. Why are we so passionate about this?
I feel like as far as toxicity at jobs go, Black women seem to have a target at
Mm-hmm.
a lot of different jobs. I know I felt
Mm-hmm.
this personally, and we've spoken about it before, and I know you have too. It just
Mm-hmm.
seems like just always having to mask for a job is
Mm-hmm.
exhausting. It's so mentally exhausting. So not forget about like the hour-long commute and just sitting in traffic. Just like the mental exhaustion. Just coming home,
Right.
sitting on the couch, just being wiped out, barely able to get up off the couch and cook dinner for yourself. Like that's not, you don't have to live like that. That doesn't have to be your life, right? There's other
Mm-hmm.
ways that you can be successful and be free. Like you don't need to be trapped. That's why I really like talking to people about freelancing, because freelancing just means that you are working for yourself and you have location freedom, right? So
Yeah.
you can do anything under the freelancing umbrella. So you can be a VA, you can be like a web designer, you can teach courses, you can coach. There's so many different things that you can do with your already existing skill set. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that just helping people see that they are capable of doing so much more and getting out of a toxic environment. I just
Mm-hmm.
think that there's so much opportunity in freelancing. The world is a big place. The internet goes everywhere, so there's people everywhere that you could be helping. You don't
Mm-hmm.
have to be
That's so
stuck.
important.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think like a lot of the thing, like the huge thing that keeps us in a lot of these toxic workplaces is like the income, right? The fear
Mm-hmm.
of not having income. And so freelancing can provide you with that segue outside of a toxic work environment. And again, it can be as quick or as slow as you need it to be, right? This is at your pace. Also, want to say that there
Mm-hmm.
is no rush in this process. Again, if you want to take your time to try out different freelancing areas to see what works for you, you can do that. Please feel free. But yeah, for Black women, I have seen just being in freelance communities, seeing how people take their skills, right, and just immediately start freelancing without having like these fears that we often have around titles, because a lot of us are taught that titles are our identities. Our identities are like tied to the jobs that we have. And that becomes dangerous, right? When you tie yourself to something that's fluctuating. And so to be able to take ownership of your skills for yourself, realize that whatever environment that you're in, your skills are yours and you can use those in whatever way that you want to as a freelancer, and to be able to also leave an environment that's not serving you, right? We've even seen like the election results and a lot of people feeling like they don't want to be in the US anymore. Freelancing can provide you with that way to have that income source to be able to create the life that you want to live. Whether it's
Mm-hmm.
traveling internationally, moving abroad, or taking a domestic trip like van life, like Quinn does. So, yeah, just exploring like options outside of these very rigid molds that are a lot of us are told that we have to be in, right? And other people have the flexibility to pursue these. So why can't we? Why can't we? Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see. One topic from the webinar that we're excited to share with attendees. I'll go first, I
Oof.
guess. I
I
think
already said it.
building.
The skills inventory. I love it.
Yes, that's important. That's important. I think building confidence, right?
Yes.
As a social worker, having that background, realizing even for myself, the reasons why I felt like I couldn't even go into freelancing, I couldn't be an entrepreneur. A lot of it was like lack of confidence because of what I had experienced in work environments, in educational environments. And so to be able to rebuild your confidence as a freelancer by, again, working with clients who you want to work with, right? Exploring different areas of interest, reflecting back to yourself that you're actually skilled and that you can
Mm-hmm.
actually do this. This is not just for other people, this is for you too, if this is your dream. And building that sense of assuredness within yourself, right? That you have what it takes to succeed. And that's where community really comes into play. During those moments of self doubt, which are very real, having other people to reflect back to you, right? You have what it takes. You're not going through this alone. This is like the journey of being an entrepreneur, of being a freelancer. And we're here to support you on this journey to continue that momentum at whatever pace works for you. Yes. So building confidence, I think, is really important. And being a freelancer has helped me reclaim some of those parts, right? To be able to
Mm-hmm.
tap back into my confidence. Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those things too where like your confidence is taken away when you're in a toxic job environment, but they're not
Yeah.
taking your skills, right? So they can take
Ooh.
your confidence, but they can't take what you already know that's in your head. So that's the one thing I always say, like once you know something, once you have the education in something, once you have the skill in something, that is yours to keep forever. So your confidence, you can
Mm.
always work to get that back, but they can't take your knowledge, right?
Wow. Mic drop. Oh my gosh. That's true.
Right? They can't do it. They can't take your knowledge. They can't take your skill set away from you. So you
It's
can take that and
true.
go somewhere else with it and have a better life situation by freelancing. Right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. No one can take the knowledge. No one can take the
Nope.
skills that are like in here.
Yep.
Right? These are
Yep.
yours. And part of this is really like reclaiming ownership, like even like self-sovereignty. Like these
Hmm.
skills are mine, things that I have
Yeah.
gained throughout my life. No matter if I was in an environment where people couldn't see them, okay, I still have the skills, right? And
Hmm.
I'm going to use them for myself in a way that I want to, in a place that I want to use them at.
Yep.
So that's, yeah, that's huge. That's huge. Yep. Yes. Facts.
Yeah.
Period. Yes. Absolutely. Yes. And I do want to talk about community, how important community has been on this journey of freelancing with its ups and downs, its twists and turns, its highs and lows. How community has
Yeah.
played an important role in that. Yeah.
Community has helped to keep me going, really. I mean, it's just
Yeah.
being with other people who are experiencing same things as you, right? The highs and lows of freelancing, helping you, whether it's helping with you with confidence or helping you with a new skill, right? So when I was transitioning and learning how to design websites, uh, you go to YouTube, watch videos, you trial and error on your own, but like questions, helping, just having people answer questions has been huge. So it's really a lot of different things that community can do for you. It can help you with the skill set, right? So if you don't know how to do something, it can help you with confidence. And it's just like a feeling of being a part of, it's not necessarily a work environment, but it kind of is, right? So you go to the office, you have your community of people, your cubicle buddies or whatever. But having an online community is kind of the same thing, right? Even though we're all
Mhm.
over the world, we are doing different things, right? We're web designers, we're VAs, we're everything else. But you have like kind of that little like cubicle community because there
Cubicle
are people who
community.
are doing something similar to you. So
Yeah,
having an online community is huge in this freelancing world, right? Because
it
essentially
is.
you're just by yourself. It's your company, or if you want to build out a team, but it really helps to not feel so alone to have an online community.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Community has been essential to continue my momentum, right?
Mhm.
During the times where it felt like so hard, I'm like, I don't want to do this anymore. And I'll be the first to say, right, there are a lot of ups and downs in this journey. And just realizing that the deeper wounds that we experience throughout our lives, they will show up when you become an entrepreneur, because now it's just you, especially if you're a solopreneur. Now it's just you, right? Trying not to become your own toxic boss if you have internalized what people have said to you can be difficult. So it shouldn't have just been a process of unlearning and really getting back to like, who am I? What are my skills? And how can I like rebuild my confidence to attract my clients authentically? Right. And that's a
Mhm.
process, and community has really helped me with that. Yeah. Let's see. Yes, yoga bliss stance. I left academia as a professor, tenure track, got tenure and left. Okay. Yes, diagnosed with PTSD. I'm sorry. Yeah. 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 And the skills, right? I can't imagine the skills as a professor that you can use to become a freelancer. Consulting, like working with clients, right? In different capacities. Yeah. Kiki asked, you have to have a registered business to consider yourself a freelancer. And I'll say
Nope.
like it depends on, yeah, depends on what area of freelancing that you
Yeah.
go into. But generally, no. I am a sole proprietor at this
Mhm.
point in my business. And a lot of people start off as sole proprietors, right? And so there's no special thing that you need for that. It's just literally that. Like you don't have to anything you want to speak to this, because I know I didn't have like a registration process or anything like that for what I wanted to do. Again, I
Mhm.
started off as a virtual assistant, so this may vary with the type of freelancing that you enter into, but generally, no.
Yeah, you don't, it depends on what you're doing. A lot of it also
Mm-hmm.
depends on your location too. So if you are not based in the US, you might actually have to register your business. If you are, I think in Europe, in
Mm-hmm.
certain countries, you have to register your business. So if you're not US based, it might just be in your country you have to. But in the United States, you don't have to register. An LLC gives you extra protections, but it's not a requirement. If you have if you when you grow your business, if you decide to hire people, you need to have certain structures in place for that. But if you're a solopreneur, then
Mm-hmm.
depending on what you're doing, but for the majority, you don't necessarily have to file paperwork or anything.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for that. Yes, let me read a few more comments here. Thank y'all. Yes, but the confidence, yes, self sovereignty. Oh, yes, yes, can be taken. We have to rebuild. Yes, yes,
Mm-hmm.
absolutely. Yeah, rebuilding who you are, reminding yourself who you are,
Yes,
of your
yes, yes.
different skill areas. If you're
Mm-hmm.
questioning that, I know when I first came out of that toxic work environment. Even going through an exercise like reminding myself that I'm skilled, right? I have degrees, and even if you don't have degrees, I've had all these jobs, I've had all these volunteer experiences. This is my skill set, and taking ownership over that. That can be powerful. A way to take back your sovereignty.
Mhm.
Yes, absolutely. Um, let's see here. One thing you wish you knew before starting your freelancing journey.
Ooh, geez, just one thing. um, I would say that the one thing that I wish I knew, or not necessarily I wish I knew, but one thing that I just wasn't prepared for, and this might seem silly, and this might just be a Quinn thing, but just having to participate in social media.
It can be a lot.
uh,
Yes.
and again, you can pick your battles, right? You don't need to be everywhere all at once. You don't need to be on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. Like, you don't have to be dancing all over the place. Just pick one and stick with it. But just the one thing that I wasn't really prepared for was just how many amazing people I would meet on this journey. Like, freelancing just
Mhm.
opens the world to you. So when you join a community, there's so many people around the world doing something similar to you, or maybe they've had a online business for years. I just think that the world really opens up. And that was just something it didn't even occur to me, like how many different corners of the world you can interact with as a freelancer,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
Um,
That's true.
yeah, I think the one thing I that surprised me was the social media part. But a pleasant surprise would be just just the different people that I've met who are all over the world, right? Like, I've
Mhm.
had a client who
Mhm.
was in Australia, and I had another client who was in Mexico, and another client in San Francisco. Like, we've never met in person, but just being able to talk to people that you would never get a chance to speak to, um, that was just really,
Mhm.
it was just so eye-opening to just feel how big the world was. I think that's the best way I can describe it, just to feel how big the world is.
Mhm. That's really
That
true.
was
Yeah,
just
because you see,
so, so eye-opening.
yeah, and you see people doing this like all over the world, right? Which is another reason why I'm like, well, why can't we do this? Right? Kind of
Exactly.
like having that realization, like we have all the skills, we have everything that it takes. A lot of us have had this dream of being an entrepreneur, pursuing our own path, but these traditional barriers that have existed, which don't, a lot of them don't exist anymore with the world of online business, with the low cost of entry. So just asking that question, why not us, right? Why not us? That's so true. One thing that I wish that I knew before starting. Um, hmm. I think that I can package my services. I wish I would have known that, right? Versus feeling like I had to start off hourly, which we talk about a lot. Um,
Hmm.
in packaging what I do so that people know what I do, because like you mentioned, freelancing is still relatively new. When you tell
Hmm.
people I'm a freelancer, and typically you want to say like your actual thing that you do, like graphic design,
Yeah.
content
Mhm.
creation, social media manager, so that they have a better idea of that versus just freelancer, because that can be anything.
Mhm.
But to understand that you can package your services in a way that allows you to make your life sustainable, right? As a freelancer,
Mhm.
that's one thing I wish I would have known before starting. Yes, yeah. And I see a question here. We will not. Will you guys be talking about taxes when becoming a freelancer at the webinar? No, this is probably like freelancing 201. We're just doing freelancing 101. So just like the the entryway into it. But typically, you will pay quarterly taxes, and you'll remit those to the state and also the federal government on a quarterly basis as a solopreneur. Typically, that's the process. But again, this depends based on your situation, based on the state that you live in, based on your personal circumstances. But no, we will not be covering that. Thank you for that question. Let's see. Mm-mm-mm. Did you have a specific area you knew you wanted to work in pursuing a social work degree with freelancing? I knew that I wanted to work with Black women entrepreneurs. That was my research background as a social worker in the economic development field. So I knew that I wanted to be somewhere in that space. And that is the client base that I ended up attracting with the messaging that I was. And here is my one of my first clients, Dr.
Oh,
Kamani. Yes.
hi, Dr. Connie.
So being able to target my messaging to what do you need assistance with, you're growing your business, right? The background tasks that you may need help with, things like sales funnels, these huge processes that I had an understanding of because I was in the business world as a non-traditional social worker, and being able to take that level of skill and expertise and apply it to the client base that I wanted to work with, which again was Black women digital entrepreneurs as a virtual assistant. So, yes. Okay. Oh, I love this. Yes, I would. Yes, to
Ooh,
become a VA and travel full time. Digital nomad is my goal. Leave the US and get out of this rat race. Yeah, we're
yes,
celebrating you. Yes. Yes. And please, the CRM, like seriously, that's
yes.
a huge space. We're like encouraging you to pursue that. CRM consulting, working with clients to set up their CRM, please. And CRM is customer relationship management database for your clients. Yes. Okay. I want to ask as we're wrapping up how people can get into contact with you, and then any parting words that you'd like to share with us tonight.
Yeah, so you can get in contact with me through my website, so quinnedwardsdesign.com. That's the quickest way to get in contact with me. You can also find me on LinkedIn. That's where I'm the most active. So parting words, you can freelance with the skills you have. You don't need to go out, get another degree. We are not trying to get into more student loan debt.
Oh,
uh, as long as you have your laptop and your Wi-Fi, that's it. You can upgrade your laptop down the road if you want to do like video editing, large scale for YouTubers. Yeah, maybe you need an updated laptop, but what you're currently watching this video on, you can probably use that to start your business. Right?
mm-hmm.
So if you're on your cell phone watching this, then you can set up a PayPal account as soon as the video's over. You can you can
Yeah.
pretty much start advertising on Instagram. I'm sure you have the app on your phone. Like literally what you have right now, you can use to start your business.
Mm-hmm.
And I want more people to realize just the power that they have, the knowledge base that you have, right? You already know how to
Mm-hmm.
do something. You can
Mm-hmm.
offer that. And then if you want to do something else, learn it and then
Mm-hmm.
do it. Right? There's nothing
Yes,
holding you
indeed.
back. There's no special, kind of freelancer juice you have to drink, right? You can start
Right.
it like tomorrow. So
Yeah.
I just want people to be aware of their existing skill set. And if you have a situation, a toxic job, living situation you want to get out of, freelancing can really be the ticket out of there, right? And it doesn't have to be forever. If you want to travel the world for a year and then go back to, a W-2 job, you can do that too. There's no permanence in any of this. There's no permanence
Ooh.
in what you offer to begin with, right? You can start off offering web design and then maybe you don't want to do that anymore and maybe you want to start doing AI, right? You can always change. There's no permanence in any of this. And I want people to understand that you can always learn something new and do that, right? You're
Wow.
in control.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I needed that. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
There is no permanence, right? Just in life in
No.
general. And I have found that being an entrepreneur really kind of mirrors the life experience.
Mhm.
Having flexibility in that and realizing that nothing is permanent, right? That you have the ability to pivot. You have to give yourself permission to
Mhm.
start something, right? The thing that's been calling to you, this passion that you want to pursue, you have everything within you to pursue that. And freelancing can be a way to get you there, right? Absolutely.
Yes.
And thank you for this, Dr. Kamani. I appreciate this. But yes, I do want to share, I guess, the last words, just like you have it within you, right? For a reason. And again, we're not like rushing anyone into this process, not making it seem like this has to be your full time thing. You have to take this leap, right? It can be a gradual thing of you trying freelancing out, seeing what works for you, but realizing that you have options in life. I think that's like the core of what we're trying to tell
Mhm.
people, especially Black women. You have options outside of what is being presented to you often, as this is the only path in life that you can take. We see other people pursuing different life paths, like van life, right? Like traveling domestically, internationally. And so this is not off limits to you, right? Even though that's often told to us, it's not. And so it's taking back your power. And I think freelancing has provided me with a way to be able to do that. And we're happy to be able to share our knowledge with you at our upcoming webinar, again, Thursday, 7 p.m. Eastern. Work anywhere, live everywhere. Freelancing 101 for Black women. So please register. And yeah, I think that's it, y'all. I appreciate y'all sharing in the chat tonight, asking questions. Again, I do have a free community for Black women freelancers that I will link here again. Please visit Quinn's website if you need assistance with your website. Again, she redesigned my website, marissaprice.me, which is beautiful. If you need help with course creation, presentation creation, web design, please reach out to Quinn or refer her if you know someone that needs assistance in those areas. And yeah, I think that's it. I want to thank y'all so much for being here. Hope to see y'all Thursday at the webinar. And yeah, thank you, Quinn, for coming on and sharing
Yeah.
your gems with us.
Thanks for having me. I love these
Absolutely.
talks.
Bye, y'all. Hope you have a beautiful rest of your Tuesday. Until next time. Bye. Thank you for being here.
Bye.
Bye.